Welcome to The Claw. I'm Eric Holtzclaw, Chief Strategist at Liger. The Claw is the marketing podcast for C-suite executives. I am joined today by Max Traylor of maxtraylor.com. You can't talk about good marketing. It's like, where's your website? That's my website. So Max, thanks for joining us.
Cheers. Happy to be here.
So talk to me a little bit about what you do at maxtraylor.com. What is your area of focus?
I am a consultant.
Okay.
It's been about 9 years of productizing consulting services. That was my first book, Agency Survival Guide.
Got it.
Helping agencies productize their consulting services. And I've stuck with that.
How did you get into that? I mean, having been sort of a long-term services guy, that's basically all I've done my entire career. And, at some point you realize you need to replicate yourself, or you need to do something that's not just everything being a custom deal. Was that part of your experience?
Yeah. So I'm a fourth generation do your own thing person. I don't consider myself an entrepreneur because I have no desire to create any other company beside maxtraylor.com, and I'm not going to have employees. So I'm not in the entrepreneur camp, but always encouraged and have a family history of doing our own thing. And my dad would always tell me to put my personal life first and build a business around my personal life. Going through school, I was into marketing, just like I was really interested in marketing. So I found myself running a traditional marketing agency. We built things like content and websites, and hated it. Just absolutely, I hated it. Every time we hit our revenue goal or took on new clients, my life got worse as the person that was responsible for bringing new business in, for servicing those clients. But I found strategy and consulting and planning, like people paying me for the knowledge, the insight, not the words on the page. And that changed my life. People treated me like a big boy. I was 22 at the time, so being treated like a big boy was cool.
Right.
And I could charge whatever I wanted. And I was like, yeah, this is really cool. And we had the opportunity to then license this strategic process that we created to all of our competitors around the world, just through happenstance. And so we did that. And I remember I had put an alarm on my phone when I got an email from PayPal, and it would go cha-ching. And there was one night I was woken up in the middle of the night with a $5,000 cha-ching from an agency that had licensed our program in Australia. And I knew I was done with agency world. I was just like, I am going to help people productize their consulting services. I'm going to find companies and people that have unique knowledge, and I'm going to help them turn that into consulting services. And maybe some of these other models of monetization that I had stumbled into, the group workshops, the licensing programs, and so that was about 9 years ago.
Okay.
And that's how it happened.
Got it. All right. Good. Yeah, and that is can be one of the things that individual, people who are doing some kind of service or whatever, it's a great way for them to create that recurring revenue stream, something that doesn't require you to be on site or doing the thing on a regular basis.
In the beginning, I really latched onto that as that's what I want to help people do because I experienced it. And then as I get older, and I have 2 kids now, I've realized that the beauty in simplicity. I've created courses, I've run the cohorts, and at the end of the day, a high ticket, impactful strategic consulting service is just fine for some people.
Yeah.
You can make plenty of money. You don't need those recurring revenue services to enjoy life. And that's what I'm mostly driven by is my dad, who told me put your personal life first and build a business around that. So just because you can productize something to that extent, cohorts, facilitating the process, licensing it, doesn't mean that you should, or that it will improve your quality of life.
Okay, so because I've been down this path, so I had a book come out in 2013, and went through the whole creating training and working on those. Brendan Burchard, some of those people. So talk to me about how you evaluate if this is a good fit for someone. So like, how do you know that you're working with someone that this is going to work well for? Because like, what does that feel like for you're on the phone with someone and you're like, yeah, you'd be a great fit for something similar to what I'm doing?
The first thing that I always do with people is productize the high ticket, low volume consulting service.
Okay.
Like somebody comes to you, a CMO, and says, I want your brilliant mind, and the deliverables are going to be our strategic plan. I have to make sure that people have that well documented, that it's consistent, and that they've reached their potential with that service, meaning they're charging what they should be charging, which they never are.
Yep.
And they're delivering it in a way which is, can't say optimal, but efficient.
Efficient, yeah, right.
Documented and efficient. You need to do that before you invest in what I'd say the second tier is, which is a 1 to 10 delivery model. Like an example would be mastermind groups.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So there's an element of white glove, like the person is there, they're taking questions, but there's also a group element. You don't see hundreds of people in a mastermind call, you see maybe 10.
Right.
So if people can do really consistent engagements in that 1-to-1 model, then they can start building that 1 to 10 model. And the criteria just is, do you have 10 people to sell to? And then the third layer is 1 to 100, which these are those Facebook courses, and you watch video and you do things. But the challenge with that last layer is that the more strategic you get, or the higher the more you're working with members of leadership teams or executives, they're not going to watch videos and do things.
Right. Yep.
So a model breaks down the more strategic you get, and I try to work with people that are as strategic as possible. So I really don't, in many cases, see them developing a course. Where I do see it applicable is when, for a sales consultancy, for example, they'll come in, they'll do a sales playbook engagement, $50,000. Then they'll say, great, you've got 10 senior sales managers. We're going to do a quarterly workshop with those senior sales managers. We're going to charge you this amount. We're going to do that once a quarter. So that's the first two models. Then they'll say, okay, you've got 200 sales reps. We have a sales certification course on our Umpty-Ump methodology. Sign here, we'll give you a 20% discount and 500 licenses of it. The reason that works is because it's one transaction that gets you the volume.
Right. Yep. The one to many.
The challenge that most people have, consultants, agencies, we're really good at selling high ticket, low volume. It's a very personal, it's a very white glove involved sales process, usually multiple decision makers. So when they build a course, they don't know how to sell 100 things in a month.
Yeah.
That's not the way they've done it. And so I think it's the best application of like, where would a licensed course or program come in to an agency or to a CMO or a consultant is what can you sell to the companies that you're already working with?
Yeah, that one to many model. So you're not trying to, because the breakdown that may happen in course land is, how big a following do you have? What's your email list if you're trying to do the 1-to-1, right? You've got to have a large enough group there that you've been pouring into for a period of time to make that happen.
And most consultants don't have that. And if they do have that, they're not doing the high ticket consulting, and I'm not going to work with them because I'm not a course designer. Yeah. I'm more of a let's look at what's inside your head and pick out the most strategic stuff and make sure you're doing that.
We'll go to commercial break and let's talk about how you get into that part of the process. So like, how does someone know that they may be primed for this? Like, that this is a thing that would be a good fit for them. So you're listening to The Claw. I'm Eric Holtzclaw, Chief Strategist at Liger, talking to Max Traylor with maxtraylor.com. We'll be back in just a minute.
The Claw podcast is brought to you by Liger. Liger is a hybrid marketing firm combining a brand strategy consultancy and a production house that offers the full range of content and creative services. we can be your entire marketing department or your entire marketing department's favorite people to work with. We save the world from boring, broken marketing by putting businesses in brand therapy so they can express their most authentic, memorable selves. And then we share their story so they can be known. For more information, visit ligerpartners.com and follow us on our social media platforms.
And we're back. You're listening to The Claw. I'm Eric Holtzclaw, Chief Strategist at Liger. The Claw is the marketing podcast for C-suite executives. And if you've been working with some of those C-suite executives in one way or the other, and you'd like to figure out how to put that into a more strategic package, I'm talking with Max Traylor with maxtrailer.com. He is the guy for you. So you might want to get off the agency or delivery wheel and really lean into that superpower, that thing that you've created that you can do strategically. So Max, so how do you get started? Like, it sounds like, that the person needs to have something definitely that's repeatable. They've got to have, they can't just come to you and be like, hey, I want to be this expert in this category and let's put a package together. Like, how do I know I'm ready to talk to Max?
You have to know things. It's really the only criteria. Nobody that comes to me because they have a repeatable process. They come to me and say, I'm doing all of these things for all of these clients, and it's exhausting, and I bet there's something here. So really all you need is experience. You need to have true knowledge of a territory. And I think that the more focused that knowledge is, the more you have specific knowledge in a practice area, like within marketing. Okay, then there's digital marketing. Within digital, there's just layers and layers and layers. So the more focused you are in your practice area, the more you have specific industry knowledge or situational knowledge. Like I help companies go through their Series A investment process, and I'm specifically helping horse farmers. As long as it's specialized knowledge, that's where price premiums live.
Yeah.
And
the riches are in the niches.
Exactly.
Yes,
exactly. Right. And like that makes it's not necessary, but it makes everything a million times easier.
Yeah. Well, and it also, it helps you keep from overspending, right? Because you're literally going after this one target. Doesn't mean you couldn't do it in other categories, but you have this like one group that you really, really like to work with.
Are people ready to do it? I think every one of your listeners will look in the mirror and say, no, I'm not ready to do it. That's imposter syndrome. Everyone has that. You still have it after you've done it. I have imposter syndrome every day. If you're not worried, it means you're standing still, and that is a problem. If you're comfortable, that's a problem. But I use that big word productize. Really, just what I mean is really hone in on the thing that your clients see as most valuable and start to get rid of the things that are less valuable. And so a really practical thing to do is have someone else that's not you go talk to the people that pay you money and ask them, what is the most strategically valuable thing that you get from Eric?
Yeah.
And what is the least valuable thing that you get from Eric? And you're on your way.
It is funny you talk about the imposter syndrome, because I do strategy meetings probably once a week, right? And every time you start it, you're like, am I the person? Should I really be running this? Like, do these whatever? And you have had the bad experiences. I've had a couple strategy sessions where you're like, yeah, so maybe I should never do this again. But it does keep you on your toes. It's a famous performer, I don't know which one it is, that she said that every time she got on stage, she was always nervous. And that the second that she wasn't nervous, she needed to stop doing it, because it means you're not at the height of your game. You're not going to like get in there and really play. So as you think about, you talk about things I might know and ways that I'm, expressing that, there's also systems. So, lots of them out there that someone could go out and subscribe to, that could get licensed in a category. Do you have an opinion about choosing something that's off the shelf versus building something yourself? Like which door is a better door?
So you get a similar result. You get something that's predictable. You'll be able to make more money with less stress and complexity. And so it is a way to shortcut it. But you are then in a sea of people that are certified in that thing. So it doesn't solve the positioning problem for yourself. But I know a bunch of people that love that life. So there's nothing wrong with it. I would say it really comes down to your personality.
Okay.
And specifically, do you have the psychological and mental courage to stand behind your own thing? Because that is terrifying.
Yeah. Well, like the choice of being Max Traylor from maxtraylor.com.
Right. Right. Exactly. I have chosen the scary path.
Yeah. So at Liger, our tagline is "Be known," and we build everything around the idea of taking companies and moving them up so that they're known, right? So someone in this category, and I like your example of maybe an executive who's ready to build that second career and do that new thing based on all the knowledge they have. What's some of the advice you give them in finding and attracting those first customers and being known for this area of strategy and expertise?
So I always talk about having a noble contribution, some way that you are giving value to your ideal clients. This is a noble contribution. Your podcast is giving them new knowledge. It's helping them learn. When you write a book, that's a noble contribution. When you do an industry study, that's a noble contribution. When you do an industry event or host online workshops, it's all a noble contribution that people don't have to pay for. And so rather than creating content and hoping your ideal clients see it, create it with them.
Yeah, nice.
Call up your ideal client. Say, hey, I'd love to have you on my podcast. Hey, I'm doing interviews for my next book. Hey, would you be able to participate in a study I'm doing? And I'll share the insights from that study with you and your team. Go out and collaborate with them, and you will be known amongst the people that they influence.
Very nice. Nice. I love that answer. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate it. It's been a good conversation.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it.
So you've been listening to The Claw. I've been talking with Max Traylor. He is with maxtraylor.com. I assume, Max, you can find all the information about you at maxtraylor.com, yes?
That is the place. Ironically, maxtraylor.com is under construction.
So, nice.
But I'm a LinkedIn, I live on LinkedIn. So
okay.
LinkedIn is always going to be the place to get my content, to see what I'm up to, talk to me. One day maxtraylor.com might be finished.
Okay, well, we will find you on LinkedIn. So I appreciate that. So thanks so much for joining us.